right, everybody, it's WrassleVerse with Mike Akers, and today I have a returning to WWA MK Swift. How's it going, man?
It's going good. I'm doing all right. Doing better now.
Yeah, well, I was at the show on Friday at the
Mm,
Armory, and I've never been to a show at the Armory, but
me either.
in summertime it is a little
Yeah, it's rough.
toasty.
It's rough. Real rough, actually.
But it was a great show all the way around. And then we come up to this match of CCW and Vanderpool, and then you make a run in towards the end of the match. And this wasn't just a run in. This was you coming back to WWA after, I believe, 3 months is what it was that you've been away. And dude, the crowd. I mean, I've talked a ton about the Coliseum. You can't
Yeah.
beat the Coliseum.
Right.
And,
Right. Right.
and in the Armory, it's still, even though it's not as big as a place, there wasn't as many available seats as there typically would be in the Coliseum. When you came out, man, the crowd though, they made it feel like it was a big time
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So kind of run me through that, how you were feeling when you got out there and you heard the crowd.
Um, I guess everybody always fears that, like, you wonder if they care,
Mm.
um, if they remember. And I remember, like, since we're back in Evansville, I was like, since WA is back in Evansville, I was wondering if we'd get new fans or new people that would come in and maybe not remember, or maybe not haven't been to a show before, so they might not know who this random guy is who's running in. And
Yeah.
so when I got the reaction I got, it made me feel so validated that they missed me, and that like they cared. So it was really cool, like a experience I won't forget ever.
Right. And you mentioned that that was the first time WWA has been back in Evansville since, I believe, it was last December.
Yeah.
And that's all because of a renovation or whatever's going on with the Coliseum. And for people who don't really know, or have a lot of are in tune with the independent wrestling, sometimes it's hard to find a place to put on a show.
Yeah.
And Evansville, just since I've started doing WrassleVerse, which has been probably 4 or 5 months. Oh, it's been longer than that because I was doing that when you guys were in the Coliseum. But
Yeah.
anyway, since I've been doing this, Evansville's had some other promotions pop up, at least that I've noticed. And I'm not saying pop up, but have been getting other venues. Was it more, which, I mean, I don't know if you can answer any of this or not, but was it more of just finding that right place for WWA, or was it everywhere else? There's just so many other little companies around this area now.
I think I can't really speak on it since I wasn't in the company for a
Sure.
while, and still on a technicality, I'm not contracted to the company. So, but for when I was there, 3 months ago, I
Mhm.
know it was a big deal of finding the right building, finding something that kind of mirrors or is similar to the Coliseum. I don't think we wanted to, or they wanted to downgrade in a
Sure.
sense. Not that National Guard Armory is a downgrade, but I think it was more um, like right time, right place, right price, honestly,
Yeah.
and right area too. There's a lot of factors that went into it. And I know when I was there, we had spent a lot of time looking. I live in Evansville, so
Okay.
more local people that live in Evansville. We spent a lot of time looking for different venues. We thought about high schools or whatever the case may be. And I guess during the time I was away, they figured out that they wanted to go to National Guard Army.
Which I think is great. I live in Princeton, so
Okay.
I'm not far from Evansville, but I'm definitely
Right.
that's a drive down to the places in Kentucky. So it's not, for me. It'd be like a 2 hour trip back and forth, and
Yep.
it's a lot. That's a lot of driving to go. I mean, I know you guys do it quite a bit anyway to put the show on, but excited to see you guys back in Evansville. Now, you said you're not on a contract with WWA. All of that could change this Saturday, correct?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
You have a great
Uh,
match with Ray Waddell coming up.
I think, yeah, it's a pretty big deal. I think
Yeah.
for me, I think this Saturday, I made a post about it the other day. I think it's a lot of stuff on the line, not just the WWE contract. There's the contract, the championship, the respect. I feel like uh, for the last 4 years that I was in the company, I felt like there was always something I was trying to prove, right, and something I was trying to show to whether the higher ups or the veterans or the fans or my peers. I was always trying to prove something. I always felt like I had like a chip on my shoulder. Most wrestlers do, but for me, it's a little different. I felt like I had, there was always something that I felt like I had to show them that I could do or wouldn't do or whatever the case may be. And now, after leaving, I have to do that again. I have to show them that why I want to be here, why I'm back. Um, Show them that I didn't just spend my time away sitting down. I was working on myself, my physical health, and my mental. And then there's earning the contract, and then there's winning the WWA championship. I mean, not many opportunities. I haven't had many opportunities to get after that WWA championship. I've only had the one, which was when I first started. So this is my first time, and to come back in my first match back after 3 months be a WWA championship match that's not go over my head. And the stakes of this, the contract, the championship, the respect, everything is there, and it's a huge, huge deal for me. And my first match is my singles career too. People forget that. Yeah. I've been a tag guy since I debuted. This is my first match post my tag career. So there's also that. This is the first glimpse of what a singles MK Swift looks like. So there's so many things that go into this. It's not just the one thing or the other thing. There's so much pressure behind this. And I think now I'm ready for that pressure.
And I agree with all of that. I think that's great. I think, I mean, I've seen you wrestle in tag team matches before. You brought that up, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But Ray Waddell is no slouch. He's been around. He's been around the block. I saw there was a highlight I've seen of you and Ray. You've had a match before in the past, and it's a version of a Spanish Fly that you and Ray did. I don't know where it was. I can't pick out where, but man, the Spanish Fly anyway is a great move. I mean, for people to have kind of I guess something to compare it to. Ricochet does it quite a bit. And you do that with Ray Waddell. Ray Waddell is facing the opposite direction. I mean, to pull off a move like that, and this isn't I mean, you are obviously a smaller guy. That's not something we can argue. So you know what I mean? But it's to see it and to see you and Ray do it, it's such a cool move. And both of you pulled that off great. Yeah. So are we going to see some more of that? Are we going to see some more big time moves with you and Ray this Saturday?
It's fascinating because Ray was always somebody that I had never had a singles match with. He was like, there's very few in the WWA that haven't wrestled like singles wise, and Ray was one of them. And that particular show that you're talking about was on the Wrestle Roulette show, where your opponent is randomly drawn out of a hat. So what are the odds that my random opponent is first time ever match up Ray Waddell? You know what I mean? So I felt like for that match, in order to beat him, he's obviously like he has the size advantage, he has the experience advantage. So there's a lot of stuff, and he has the agility. Like people forget how agile Ray Waddell is. He can do a lot of stuff I can do in there for his size. So it's one of those things where you have to think outside the box. You know what I mean? You had to do something that was unprecedented and do something that you've never done before. And I had personally never done anything like that before. So I just kind of had to do what I had to do. And so Ray now getting that second singles match and it being the biggest match of my career and being that big of a deal, I feel like I have no choice but to pull out everything I can, every trick and every move and every thing, and do what I do best, and that's flip flop and fly. But do it at a level I've never done it before, so that I can win that WWA championship, so that I can get the contract, and so I can earn the respect of all my peers.
And then so we mentioned the Coliseum just a minute, and I'm sure people that watch this or listen to me, I've mentioned the Coliseum probably 500 times on this show. But when you walk in, because you do a lot of high risk, high reward moves, your move set is that high flyer mentality. I think I may be wrong, but
yeah, for sure.
When you walk in, are you already looking around? Because I know I'm pretty sure you've jumped off the balcony at the Coliseum, if I'm not mistaken.
Everything. I've jumped off everything.
And that's
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so when you
Yeah.
go in, do you just kind of, oh, I can get up there. I bet I can
Yeah.
jump off that too.
I when I first started doing the when I first jumped off. So first of all, when I got into the business, my idea wasn't to be some high flyer,
Okay.
right? Like I had no intentions on jumping off the top rope or springboarding or whatever. It just naturally as I was practicing things and learning things about the business and doing moves, I realized that I got a vertical. I can kind of jump pretty high, and this is not like I'm not a guy that was in sports growing up, so it's not like this is news to me. I was kind of like this was all brand new territory for me. I just had this unknown athleticism that I didn't know I had. So, it took me 20 years into my life to realize actually I can do some crazy stuff. But the first jump off of anything I ever did was in Evansville in the Coliseum. It was off the scaffolding of WWE had this big setup that was really tall, and it went just super high. And it wasn't my idea originally; it was somebody else's. And they were like, "You think you could jump off that?" And I'm brand new, and I was like, "I don't nah." I just wanted to impress her. I wanted to show that I would do something. I wanted to stand out and do something that was never done before, or whatever. So I was like, "I'll try it." And so I remember getting up there for the first time ever, and like looking down and being like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And like wanted to just climb back down and just climb back down and just go down and start punching other people. But then I was like, if you climb back down this without jumping off, your career is ruined straight out the rip. Like one of your first things you've ever done, your career is gone. So you either jump off of this or you ruin your career before it could even start. So I jumped off, and then gradually the things got taller and taller and taller, and so now it's become a thing where if I see something I haven't jumped off of before, I'll probably jump off.
And see, that's what the Coliseum was such a great place for that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, like I said, coming off the balcony, you had scaffolding on one. There's one, and one of the main reasons I really liked the Coliseum is it was when they would open up the balcony. You could go up there and sit for like the big shows, and it was Corey Calhoun.
Oh yeah,
man.
and Josh.
Yes.
Josh Onyx.
And he dove over the top and just, I mean, I thought we just watched a guy die.
Yeah.
It was, it was brutal. Me and my son are sitting up there at the top, like, oh my God. But
I can imagine what it looked like from the balcony area, like up there.
I have it. I didn't even realize that's what I was recording. And,
right.
and I had it, and I had a picture and everything of the exact moment. And he doubled over himself on the floor, and we're like, oh man. Yeah. I mean, you're just like, but that is what the Coliseum has. It has that special thing where you can make those big moves happen. And I'm sure you could like in the armory or in a gymnasium or whatever, but in there, those big high risk moves, they have so much of an impact on everything going on. And it's because of that venue. I think it's because of that venue.
Yeah.
So you were I guess we could call you a tag team specialist. I mean, that's what you did. I did have Munchie on here some time ago, and we talked about your guys' tag team, and you guys were champions. He did all the great matches so far. And as far as, well, I mean, your tag team matches, who has been someone that you've got in the ring with, and it's just, this works. This is going to be, I don't want to say an easy night, but it's going to be, we're on the same page. We're all firing.
Yeah.
Who was that to you so far?
I think the easy answer would be High Society, Ray Waddell and Alexander Knight. But I think anybody who steps in the ring with them, because of their experience and how good they are, it's going to click. It's hard to have a bad match with those guys. So I won't go that. I'll go, I think, I don't know, because I could say a couple of different teams and things like that. But I guess it's like the Golden Gods.
Okay.
I would say because they got to a point where we had so many matches to where like it was almost like second nature. I know what they're going to do before they do it. They know what we're going to do before we do it. You know what I mean? I feel like we have so much history, and there's so much there between the two tag teams over the last couple of years of facing each other and this match, that match, whatever. I feel like when all is said and done, our number one foe that everybody remember for 3CB would be the Golden Guns for sure.
And that's what that's Snyder and
Brady.
Yeah. That's what Snyder's match Friday night at the Armory was. Him and Stonewall. That was great. That was just an awesome match. Well, so I mean, you're not a tag team guy anymore. I don't want to ask you a bunch of tag team questions. So
it's okay. Tag team is still my favorite style of professional wrestling, and it's kind of like what I've been doing for the last 4 years. So it's okay.
Yeah. And that's I've always liked old school tag team wrestling. I like modern tag team stuff too. But so if you let's just do a Mount Rushmore real quick. Who are your favorite tag teams of all time?
Okay, so before I get crucified for this list, I need to make it publicly known that I only started watching wrestling so late into my life. Like I didn't grow up watching it, right? So like, when everybody would say the Hardys, or that's my era, right? When I grew up during that time, like the Hardys or Edge and Christian or the Dudleys or whatever. I didn't grow up during that time, so I had no emotional connection to those tag teams. My only connection to tag teams are the ones I started watching, like when I started watching it. I started watching when I was like 15, 16. So I'd already, gone throughout my childhood years, and I was into my teens when I started watching. So number one on my list easily is FTR. I think the Revival, whatever you call them. I think that's a given. And then number two, these are hard because I've watched old school stuff. I guess the Rock and Roll Express, only because I've actually seen them in person. And not too many people get the opportunity, but they came to the Coliseum.
That's a GCW show, wasn't it?
I don't know. I just know no. They came for a WA show at one point in time.
Oh yeah.
And they faced pretty powerful Tyler Hawkins and Jake Bravado.
Yeah.
And I watched them, and I don't know how old they were at that point in time, still be one of the greatest.
Yeah.
And then they were also sent to me by some of my peers, like on studying tag wrestling, and I watched a lot of those matches. So they're up there. 3. I don't know, because it's literally like all I think about is FTR. Like that's it. Like that's my number one. And then like other than that, I really don't consider anybody up there in my list. So I don't really have I'll go like this. No, actually I don't. I lied. I don't have more.
Well, see, I think FTR is probably on a lot of people's lists.
Yeah.
Gosh, I mean, I've never even thought about it, to be honest with you, tag team wise. Cause I grew up in the Monday Night Wars. So, I mean, for me, you have like Harlem Heat, you have the Steiners in WCW. Yeah. I'm a big Natural Disasters fan. I'm not saying they're the greatest team out there, but man, it's just so memorable. But yeah, I'm sure FTR is probably on everybody's list. The Rock and Roll Express, I didn't expect you to pick that one. That's a way back.
You gotta throw at least one in there.
But modern tag teams, I mean, there's some really good ones out there. The Usos, I think, whether they get back together again or not, they're still one of the greatest tag teams around. New Day's been fantastic. Who else?
Oh wait, I got another one. And this is out of the whim. I just thought about this tag team. There's a tag team in WWE. They were in NXT UK for a long time, and the name is Pretty Deadly, right?
Yeah.
I'm not throwing like Mount Rushmore all time because I don't have like all time, but I can say my like favorites right now. Yeah. And I feel like Pretty Deadly, like I've watched some of the matches, and like they're so like on the come up right now, so nobody really knows about them or like have watched many of their matches. But if you go back and watch some of the old NXT UK or their match, it was the NXT pay-per-view with the New Day that they had a while back. That was fantastic. So they're not on Mount Rushmore levels, but they're another tag team that I really love, and I've learned literally learned some stuff from watching some of their tag team psychology.
Right. And that's what I think Mount Rushmore's, I'm the kind of fan, you could ask me 5 days in a row and I'll probably give you 5 different lists.
Right.
You know, I just think it's that way. I don't think there's any definite thing in Mount Rushmore. It's
Yeah.
just some kind of little fun question to ask. Now you talk about Pretty Deadly. So did you watch a lot of NXT UK? Was that one of
it is my favorite thing ever, bro.
So
I'm such a huge NXT UK mark. I love British style wrestling. And so, but I never really had like the ways to watch it a lot. So when all the UK stars got signed to NXT UK, I just fell in love with the brand and everybody in it, like the Tyler Bates, the JD McDonoughs, the Gunthers, Walter, all those. Just I love it so much.
Well, that's what when they did the UK tournament, the very beginning of NXT UK.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there with my son. It was the middle of the day. It was like the first time they'd ever done anything in the daytime as far as the United States being daylight here. And man, we watched that whole tournament, and you're right. You saw just so many stars.
Yeah.
And you knew that a lot of these people were going to be in pro wrestling for a very long time. Pete Dunne, like you already mentioned, Tyler Bate, Trent Seven, who I think is fantastic. And but the UK tag team, the Grizzled Young Vets are an awesome tag team to check out. And I'm really surprised that
Mustache Mountain.
Yeah. And I'm surprised that WWE let them go or release them, whatever.
Right.
It's very surprising sometimes the people they let go and all that. But as far as and this is, I don't know if it's more of just of how goofy, I really like the goofy stuff in pro wrestling, but one of my favorite tag teams, modern wise, is Heavy Machinery. When Otis and oh yeah, dude, that was such a throwback to old school wrestling. Just that goofy stakes and weights, and man, they'd come out and they knew they were big guys. They weren't body guys. They were just big dudes. They played into it. It was fun. Otis is still funny. I still think Otis is great. Man, when they broke up that tag team, crushed. Just crushed.
I don't think I had that emotional weight to Heavy Machinery. I'll be honest with you, but I'm glad you did. I hate that for you, man.
Yeah. It was fun, dude. You got to have fun in pro wrestling sometimes.
Right.
So because I mean, you talk about, so you didn't really watch like the Hardys and all of that. You started watching later. And so what was it? What was it that got you into pro wrestling?
I'll tell you exactly what it was. AJ Styles.
Okay.
So, but specifically, not AJ Styles, TNA AJ Styles. When he returned at the 2016 Royal Rumble. Okay. Oh, not returned, when he debuted. Sorry. That, because I had never watched, like I had seen wrestling and knew some names like Triple H, John Cena, whatever. But I watched the 2016 Royal Rumble. My friend bought it. And when number 3 came out, and they all started losing their minds. And they're like, oh my God, it's AJ Styles, he's from TNA, he's from blah. And I had no clue who this guy was. But the reaction that they gave him, and I was like, but he's not with WWE, so why do you care about him? You know what I mean? I just didn't understand it. And seeing that reaction was like, okay, this is cool. I like the reaction that wrestling gets out of people. And then I watched the rest of that pay-per-view with the rest of the Royal Rumble. And I was like, this is entertaining. I like this. This is cool. And then from that point on, I was so.
Man, that's not a bad point to pick up pro wrestling either. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
AJ was already, I mean, like you said, you didn't really know who that was, but I don't want to say a casual fan, but to somebody that had been watching wrestling for some time, not just TNA, AJ in New Japan was something else. and all the Bullet Club stuff. And yeah, for that to be the moment that really brought you into pro wrestling, that's a hell of a
Yes.
moment to bring somebody into pro wrestling.
Right.
And he's still doing it. The guy's like almost 50 years old and he's still kicking it around in there.
Yeah.
But so if you, and so is that, because that makes a little more sense to me, I think. Because like you said, you really didn't know like athleticism until you tried. And then
Right.
AJ Styles is kind of the reason that you got in pro wrestling. So did you like see how he was doing that kind of that high flyer stuff sometimes? Or is there some other move sets or some other wrestlers that you kind of like, oh, that's really, I could start working that into my matches.
Yeah. I think so I credit AJ Styles for getting me into wrestling, making me like interested and making me go, okay, I like the way they reacted to him, and I like the Royal Rumble concept. And the Royal Rumble is the perfect first pay per view to watch because you get introduced to 30 new people.
Right.
So you're like, okay, well, you can pick your favorites out of those 30.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked AJ Styles. So I credit him for getting me into wrestling, but it's really Adam Cole that made me want to become a wrestler.
Okay.
When he and the Undisputed Era, they just showing my age and my era of wrestling. But when they debuted against Drew McIntyre for the NXT Championship and they beat him down and all this stuff and the crowd went crazy, again, I'm in my WWE mindset. I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
And I see this crowd in an uproar over these, in my head, strangers coming in. Yep. And so they got to be big deals. So then I get on WWE.com and I look up, like, who are these guys? What do they do? What's their names? And I read about them and found out a lot about them. And then I started like Ring of Honor. What is Ring of Honor? You know what I mean? And I was like, let me go see what this is. And, they were in New Japan Pro Wrestling. What is that? Let me go see what's going on there. And then I really got introduced to this world of pro wrestling. It's not just WWE. It's like all this other stuff, right? And then, but seeing Adam Cole, and he's not this huge guy. He's not this bodybuilder. He's not the super tall guy. I was like, and he's, like was at that point in time, like really like top of the card, right? And so I was like, if he can do it, I feel like I'm not that far off from him. You know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, he's an athlete or whatever, but I was like, he made it, so why can't I? And I watched his matches, and I was so interested and so invested in his promos and all that stuff. I just fell in love with Adam Cole and his style of everything. So then he really got me into wanting to become a professional wrestler, and I wanted to be similar to his style. And as you can see, that didn't work out. I ended up going a completely different route, but he's the reason really I got into wanting to be a professional wrestler.
And that's what modern wrestling. I don't really knock modern wrestling. I don't knock anything in wrestling. I don't see the point in it. But I mean, it's for me, I'm such an old school guy as far as, that it used to be the land of the giants. That was always kind of how pro wrestling was. And to see now, like you talk about Adam Cole and AJ Styles, Finn Balor, I think is a great person to watch for if you're not as big as a house. So guys like that, I do like that in modern wrestling because I really enjoyed watching growing up, like a Dean Malenko, Ultimo Dragon, Jericho. Jericho was huge in the 90s.
Yes.
So I mean, I really like that about modern wrestling. I do think I will get old, man, and it's a little too fast, but it's but
not all of it's for me too. To be fair, I don't love all of it. I don't like the PWG style matches. There's a way I've been taught correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. All right, dude. We are going to have to wrap it up. We're running out of time. Where can people find you on social media?
We can find me on Facebook as MK Swift, on Instagram as I believe it's MK_Swift02. Those are really the only social medias I have as of right now. But and then you can catch me this Saturday in Bowling Green and potentially the main event as a free agent, wanting to get a WWE contract, a WWE championship, and the entirety of the WWE's respect.
Oh, that'd be awesome, dude. You get that title away from the high society and Ray Waddell, and what a night that could be. Everybody knows you can find my stuff on Instagram at WrassleVerse with Mike Akers. All the stuff is on Spotify. You can email me, wrassleverse@gmail.com. So that's it, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today.